It started out like any ordinary Saturday morning at MSSM. Then something went wrong, drastically wrong. A new country called Bravẽristan began to form in the lounge. At first, it was merely a nuisance to those not involved, but soon the country began to expand its borders. This upset certain members of the student body to the point where a revolution seemed like the only option.
Only the day before, they were unaware of the oncoming chaos. They were part of a tight-knit academic community that took the peace they had for granted. Even that morning, they were still united, still sharing stories of fellowship and humor. How could it all fall apart so easily? The year was 2006. The place was the main school of science and mathematics. A new school year had begun. As with any new school year, returning students came to see their beloved graduated students replaced with a fresh batch of incompetent new students. New policies were in place, and older students were constantly conversing about how good things used to be. Nothing was particularly special about this year. As always, the gap between new and returning students began to close, and the community was working its way towards a united MSSM. This did not last, however, for one fateful Saturday morning. Two returning students by the names of David Jameson and Cody Snow became bored.
Bravẽristan started in the April of 1972 when the Nile actually started flowing the opposite direction. The Egyptians along that river valley, I'm making things up. You can probably feel the elevator shifting in altitude. So the actual origins of Bravẽristan came about October 20th, I believe.
Actually, David, that's October 21st, 2006.
We're in the breakfast, Cody said, "No, we should do something." And I say, "Yeah, I agree. This is really boring."
As with most of the random chaos at the MSSM, the Bravẽristan movement was the direct result of complete and utter boredom. The remote location and constant unbearable stress created an atmosphere conducive to creative stress relievers. Thus, not only was the Bravẽristan movement itself the result of complete and utter boredom, the resistance to the Bravẽristan movement was the result of the very same boredom.
So I say, we should build a fort. And so we do. We built a fort. It sucked. Absolutely. We got about 5 people together. We got some chairs together, got some blankets, and built the crappiest fort you have ever seen.
The construction of Bravẽristan took place that Saturday morning, and it was started with just a few couches in the corner over by the windows. It was run by David Jameson and a bunch of other second and third years. It was very nicely decorated, and they came up with greater ideas and decided that it should be an inclusive fort that couldn't be seen into.
The peace the fort experienced was doomed to fall apart. Bravẽristan soon began to expand. With this expansion, they made the decision to secede from the United States and become their own sovereign nation.
revamped it. We got some new members. We got Sarah Cropley, and we got Ali DuPont, and Graham Lowry, and whatever. And we started a charter nation. We wrote up the secession from United States. We sent it off. We got approval from the President of the United States for our secession. He actually sent us a goodbye card. And so we started a new nation, and we had a diplomatic corps. We had a new currency, which I believe was sexual favors. VD, yes, venereal diseases. That was our currency. Not sexual favors. Though Sarah Cropley was lead something or other to do with sexual favors.
It was shortly after the secession that Bravẽristan implemented an inclusive society and began to create a great deal of friction in the international community. It was not long before they saw the physical manifestation of this friction in front of the Bravẽristani fortress.
War was on the horizon. As the construction continued in the lounge below, two first-year students by the names of Anthony Nuzzo and Tobias Hreinik began to plan the resistance to the newly sovereign nation of Bravẽristan.
Next time on Red Flag over a Blue Nation.
The nation of Bravẽristan begins to find enemies as a resistance is formed and an attack is planned. This resistance finds unity under the banner of communism and organizes to capture the fortress of Bravẽristan for themselves. In Episode 2, Resistance, only on the Historical Network.
I can't do it with the stupid beard. It's not enough friction. Shortly after the secession, the